Today is a very special day. It's the Hilula, the Yahrzeit of the Ramak, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. And as a token of admiration, we're going to start learning Tomer Dvorah, the work of art, the teachings of the refinement of character that he compiled in a very, very powerful book. It's a very short book, but yet extremely powerful. So we're not going to start today, but now, but I'm just saying because it's the day of the Hilula, so we're going to take on ourselves a good achlata, a good decision that we're going to learn from his teachings that anyways we were about to start. But in the book of Tomer Dvorah, he's really focusing hardcore on Tikun Amidot. Very powerful, very straight out. And this is not one of the straight out midot, but since I told you that we cannot cover in 10 days the entire concept of the refinement of character, we're just going to go on some general rules. Now, one of the basic things and the major things that we need to focus on is some key features, we'll call it, when it comes to refinement of character. Now, when you're really focusing on the bad midot, anger, jealousy, being judgmental, feelings of revenge, and all these things, they get triggered very fast. Very fast, you can lose your temper. It doesn't matter how good you work on your midot. All it takes is the wrong button, and a person can really, as they say, lose it. And needless to say, with many other things. The key here is to apply a very, very hard midah to work on, which is called patience. And if a person is able to really bring himself to a focus of patience, then Hashem is going to constantly throw distractions and things that are jumping up and down in the background to get you out of your state of patience. You're not seeing my hand movements. But patience is key for everything. If you really know how to ignore the distractions around and to bring yourself to a place of patience, you are ready to master the Tikun Amidot, the refinement of character. Now, why do you need patience? Because if I don't have patience, it will bring me to anger. It will bring me to be very agitated, angry, of course, react in most of the cases very inappropriate. That will trigger all these bad characteristics. If you know how to calm yourself down, we'll call it right now, to be able to apply this unbelievable power of patience, then you see things as they are, you take the time to analyze them, and in most of the cases you will come to the conclusion, if you were able to apply it, wow, I'm so lucky I was able to apply it because I was about to lose my temper. Or, I'll give you a quick example. You see these horrible videos now all over social media of police brutality here in Israel and in other places. And a lot of these videos you see the policeman very violent, but you didn't see what was before the violence. Now, not that I'm justifying the violence in any type of a way, by the way. I actually strongly disagree with it. But in many of the cases, we see the result of the violence. We don't know that maybe a minute before that, the individual was, maybe attacking the policeman, or maybe behaving in a certain way that brought to this violence. With that said, not that I'm justifying it in any type of a way, nobody should use violence in these situations, especially a person with authority, but it just goes to show to you the point that I'm trying to make is that if you know how to put your reaction on delay, then your reaction will be different. Now, how do you put the reaction on delay? That's called patience. Because if you know how to apply patience, then everything is on delay. You're not quick to anger. You're not quick to judge. You're not quick to lose your temper. You're not quick to anything. You are calculated. So you can call it in many different ways, but the key here is, again, patience. Now it can be with your child, it can be with your student, it can be with your wife, it can be with anything. I had once a brilliant teacher, a rabbi in one of the yeshivot that I was in, brilliant, but zero patience. And if somebody would start asking too many questions, all his greatness was minimized, which I never judged him for that, because I have a problem with patience. I mean, that's a big thing that I constantly trying to work on this attribute. And the key here is to think what will be the result of your reaction. This is called in the language of the Mishnah, Ezu HaChacham, who's a wise person? Haroeh et hanolad, that sees what will be birth, what the situation will birth. And there's different places in the Mishnah, by the way, that they're asking who's a wise person. Here, in this specific Mishnah, then the question is, who is a wise person? A person that sees what a situation will birth. So, and this can be applied to many things, not necessarily in patience. Right now I'm focusing on the patience. So, you get annoyed, you get harassed, you get bothered, you're hot, you're sweaty, you can't find something that you need, whatever it is, to get you out of your focus. And really, that's the point of the klipa that is called Paro. I told you already, Paro might have been the king of Egypt at the time when the nation of Israel was in Egypt. But Paro is also a klipa, a negative energy, a spiritual husk that is coming to oppose Kedusha, to fight holiness. And I need to figure out where the attack is coming from. So there are many different types of klipot. So Amalek, for example, which we spoke about in many times, this is the klipa that cools you down. Asher karcha baderech. It cools you down. Cools you down. Not when you're angry and you need to be cooled down. When you get excited to do a mitzvah, cools you down. So the characteristic of Paro is to distract you. That's why the letters of Paro in a different order will be hafra'a. Hafra'a is a distraction. Why? To see if you can get out of focus. And if you know how to apply patience, then you don't get out of focus, because you're focused on the target. So you're saying, if I will lose my anger right now, then I lost my focus. So this is much, much easier said than done. This is a attribute that one can work his entire life to get to a point of patience, because sometimes different elements come into the equation. It can be hot weather. You can easily lose your patience when you're sweating, you're uncomfortable, maybe you're tired, you didn't sleep for a few days, you're very annoyed. Whatever it is, it can be the food you ate, high exposure to radiation, and you can easily lose your patience. The point here is that first of all, you have to recognize in yourself if you have this issue, because it doesn't mean that every bad attribute you possess. You could be I know for certain people that there are two very bad midot, jealousy and being judgmental. And some people, they don't have that. They're not jealous at all. They're very not judgmental, not judgmental. Who? Some people. Not who? You're wondering who. But believe it or not. So I actually know somebody who's very not judgmental and not jealous. And you would think, wow, very high level. But he has a very extreme issue with anger. And very extreme weakness to how do you call it? Addictions. So listen, you can't have that all. But on the other hand, the guy is like very not judgmental and very never jealous. The point said, not to get ourselves into a tangle. Hey, you need to see in yourself if this is something that relates to you, because I know people that you can do whatever they want. You're never going to take them out of their state of calmness. Very, very patient. They good people to be teachers, good people to be therapists, and many others. So, you need to recognize in yourself. If you have patience of steel, then this class is not necessarily for you. You mark check and you move on. I know that most people, it's just a matter of from which direction the distraction comes. And they might have patience to this, but not patience to that. So first of all, you need to recognize if this is a weakness in you. If it is, now the tool to apply here is to, I heard somebody said, I don't necessarily go by this method, but somebody once I heard a long time ago called the 21-22 method. And then I was like, what? He's like, you have to count 21, 22, 23. You have to count, and exactly like with the suit of anger, then don't react. Something bothers you, and you're about to snap. 21, 22, like you said yesterday. Think of something else. Yeah. So really, how it needs to be applied is when you stop to think, okay, right now this individual is really getting me out of my state of calm, and I really don't have patience for this right now. Let me take a moment and paint a scenario what will or can happen. And somebody a long time ago sent me this video. I wish I would have this video. Now when people send me videos that are good, I right away download them to my computer because videos get deleted, and that was a few years ago. And the video was that the person is sitting in a car, and it was like a scene of road rage. And then you see the person going out and starting to fight with the individual, and you see a whole scene. And the person pushes, there's like a fight in the road, and the person pushes the person, and a truck comes and kills the person. And then he gets arrested, and he's like, and he's, you see the scenes running fast. He's getting arrested, and then he's standing in front of the judge, and the judge like, there's not a lot of talking here. Just imagine and he gets like whatever, I don't remember, 30, 40 years in jail, and then he sits in the cell, and they close the door, and you hear the, and as you see the, he wakes up from like as if a dream, and the person is like banging on the door, on the window, how the scene started, and he's like, I'm sorry. The scene of the movie started that there was road rage, and the person came out to his window and was banging on the window, and he goes out of the car and they start a fist fight and he pushes him. But when he woke up, the person is banging on the window and he's like, I'm sorry. And the person comes down and leaves. And I was like, this is a genius, and the whole video is like maybe 50 seconds. Genius how he, it was like as if he was thinking, what's going to happen now if I come out of the car? We'll start a fight. Then I can maybe push him. Then I can kill him. I'll get arrested. I'll go to jail. I'll be sitting in jail. And right away, blah, 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 I'm sorry. So you see the reaction was a whole different reaction. Now, most of our failures is a reaction, it's a result of one of my bad reactions. Now again, one can argue and say, whoa. Didn't you say in many other classes that your success and your failure is a result of what Hashem decrees, and you just required to give effort? No question here. But there are certain things, and this we're not going to get into this niche right now of this whole free will thing, because it's on the same level. There is some type of a roadmap or a plan, and that cannot be changed. That's what Hashem is decreeing. But you have the decision, and this applies also to free will, by the way. You're going on the same track. You just choose on which lane you're going. You can switch lanes, go on this lane, but you're going to still go from point A to point B. Same thing with your failure and your success. If something is bound to be a success, it will be a success even if you don't do anything. You're still required to do effort, but in certain situations, you will first of all have the ability to change the result. But now we're just going to focus on the fact that in many situations, failure or success will come as a result of your direct reaction. Imagine now you walk home, you are agitated, long day at work, Somebody bumped into your car, you got a ticket, all the bad things that can happen, and you walk into the house and your wife starts picking on you, and you at the last moment of your patience and you flip out on her. And then of course big fight, and the rest is history. Now imagine if the person thinks, I wonder how the outcome would be if I would walk in a little bit more patient. Then I wouldn't have this fight, maybe I would avoid the whole thing. Now the question is, was it bound to be a fight, and Kadosh Baruch Hu just took you out of your element so you can fight with her, or maybe that was able to be avoided? Now don't get yourself into some OCD tangle, what would have happened. But what I want you to get into, and not in an OCD way, is that especially when you get very impatient and you're about to get out of your focus, is to stop and to paint a scenario in your mind. What are option 1? What is option 2? What is option 3? Kind of like when you punch in your destination in the GPS, it tells you can go this route, no tolls, but more time. This route is this route is that. You choose the route. Same thing here. You have to choose the route. Okay, how am I now applying a reaction to this situation? Now I'm not saying it's easy, because usually when you're impatient you don't have the ability to think, but that's what you need to start developing. A situation comes up, you say to yourself, give me a moment, let me sit down, let me think for a second, and you know what? It works in many times. You know, many times I'm extremely busy, very bothered, 1,000,001 things to do, and at the worst moment, my little girl will come and pull my shirt, and she wants something, and of course the reaction can be, leave my hand. Leave me alone, I'm busy right now. And in this moment, that's where you need to think for a second. Why is this little girl now pulling on my sleeve? You know what? This little girl needs a positive reaction right now. Anything else can stop, and I paint a scenario in my mind. And a lot of the times the scenario is very extreme, and it changes your pattern of thought and behavior. Now again, not easy to do, because you have to be on guard all the time. All the time you have to be on guard, especially if you have a problem with impatience, and especially if you're having a bad day, then take a break. If you know you're about to lose it, then lock yourself in some room, or take a break from what you're doing, go and read some Tehillim, work out, bang your head at the wall, do whatever you need to do. But the point, what we want to focus on, is that a lot of the problems in our life, especially negative reactions, is the result of me being impatient to a situation. And in many cases, my patience will change the scenario completely. And I'm not giving too many examples, but how many times you're sitting in a shul, you're praying, and the guy next to you is either going like this and banging into your chair in the back, or praying in an annoying way that you're like, or many others, going with it, whatever it is. I mean, sometimes people can do certain things that can drive you nuts. And again, now you are questioned how you're going to react, how you're applying patience. Now just imagine how many branches will born if you're not patient. Anger, judgmental. Now you start cursing the person in your mind. You get angry. Chas v'shalom, it can come into even an argument, a physical argument, a verbal argument, or a physical fight. I always laugh when things like this happen. I look up to Hashem, and I just laugh. I'm like, wow, Hashem, you got some sense of humor here. You're trying to really see my reaction right now. I'm going to deliberately not go out of my calmness. I'm going to see how it all evolves. And sometimes you see how the Kadosh Baruch Hu has real funny sense of humor. But you have to see when and how it's coming. I can tell you already, I need to elaborate on that much more. But usually Hashem is testing you with many different little things, but the patient is the gate that either opens to birth many midot, many reactions and attributes, or not. Or you close the gate and you don't go out of your element. Because if you lose your patience, you can, chas v'shalom, birth the attribute of anger. Or chas v'shalom, birth the attribute of losing your temper, being judgmental. and many other things, and of course can be a much harsher reactions. So the point we want to take from that, you got to see if you really are suffering from impatience. If you are, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Now you just need to find the tools and the methods how to deal with it. Why? Because in many cases, the reaction will be negative and you'll be the loser. Now you just have to find this perfect balance, how you stop thinking, what's going to be the reaction, what can I lose, what can I gain, and how do you find a way how to do that? Imagine now, there's a potential business deal, and the person, if everything will work well, the person will sign with you business deals of millions of dollars. You would be very patient with this guy. So why? Because there's a lot to gain here. And even if the person does all these things to annoy you, there's still a lot to gain here. So you're really not reacting. Same thing here. You have to think, what am I losing? What am I gaining? If I'm going to lose my temper, or chas v'shalom will cause me to react a certain way, and I have a lot to lose, then you have to think about it. Or what can you gain? The main thing that you gain is when you don't get sidetracked by your impatience, you get elevated to a much higher level. And then the test will just be harder. But really the point to take from that is that how I focus on it, whenever I'm focused and I don't get distracted, then I'm connected to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the second that some distraction gets me away and it will cause me to lose my anger, lose my temper, be judgmental, be chas v'shalom, reacting in a certain way, and I know, that will cause me to lose my connection with Hashem, then for me that's a huge loss, or a huge gain that I'm still attached to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it's kind of like a muscle that you need to develop to be very calculated with your thoughts, with your actions, with your speech, and you don't react fast. And that's all boils down to this one gate of patience, that if you know how to control that gate, you get yourself out of a lot of bad situations, and needless to say, you get yourself into a lot of good situations. How to do that so easily? Not so easy. And we're going to have to go through many other sessions how to really know how to control myself, that this powerful gate of patience is always locked. Because if a person is very impatient, this is a recipe to many, many disasters.